Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of From Page to Stage. I'm your host, Wendy Corner, and this podcast is for you. If you are an author, you've done the page bit. Now, your page bit may be a blog, it may be an anthology, it may be a solo book, but you are an author. Some of the people we're interviewing have also done the stage bit. They've gone from page to stage. And they've done both. Some of them have started on the stage and gone to the page. And others have got the page, but aren't quite comfortable yet on the stage. Now, I think I've covered all bases. So welcome, you're in the right place. Now, today I have the joy and pleasure of introducing you to my friend Terri Tonkin, who is based in Queensland, Australia. Now, I could tell you an awful lot about Terri, but you know what? She knows herself far better than I do. Terri, I'm going to back this one over to you. Tell us a bit about who you are and how you've come to this situation in your life.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Wendy. Terri Tonkin. I'm a mum to 2 adult boys and a nanny to 5 gorgeous grandchildren. I live in Brisbane in Queensland, Australia. I've had a varied employment background. Joined the Defence Force. I've worked in retail. I've been in banking. I was life coaching. I worked in youth programs. I became my mum's carer in the late 2017 to 2019. And in that time, my life coaching business took second place and I started writing. So I started my first book in 2018. Contributed to many others since, moved on to ghostwriting, but there was still a book in me, my own story or my own stories, and it's around happiness. So it's been a long journey, found my passion later in life as a mature aged woman, and have actually found that that's my happy place, is sitting on a keyboard and writing.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I've got to ask, what prompted the first writing? You say your mother was poorly and you were caring for her. End stage caring?
She was in care, but I became her carer in respect that I was responsible for everything.
Sure.
And I'd always wanted to write a book from when I was a little girl. We lived down in Western Queensland. I grew up in the country. I always wanted to write a book because I was an avid reader from a very early age. And in 2018, I had finished my coaching studies. Mum had been placed in care, and I thought, if Mum's going to read this book, I have to do it now. Yes. So I called my mentor and said, okay, it's time. Let's write this book. And she said, why now? And I said, I've run out of excuses. I was in a position, I could do it financially. I had the time, and I wanted Mum to be able to read it before she couldn't. And I succeeded in that. So from woe to go for my first book was 3 months. And Mum got to read it. Sadly, she would read it and she'd go, I don't remember that. It's okay, Mum, I verified it with my brother. So, but she got to read it and she carried it around with her every day. So that was
precious. How precious. So was that a solo book? Was that an anthology? Was that a chapter in an anthology?
It was called My Time to Shine.
My Time to Shine. So
and
that was
basically, that was my first solo book, my first book of any kind. And that's my story. It was my memoir. So hence why I wanted my mum to read it.
Yes. Well, I mean, how's that for a wonderful motivation?
Yes,
you knew time was limited. And obviously I'm gathering from what you've said that your mum survived physically beyond what she survived really intellectually.
She was diagnosed with dementia in 2017. In hindsight, she'd probably had it quite some time. But the other reason I wanted to write that book was to leave a legacy for my granddaughters, to let them know that they didn't have to be just a girl or just do girl things.
Yes.
Like I said, I'd been in the Defence Forces, I've been in banking, I've been in programs, I've been a public servant, and I've had my own business. So I wanted my granddaughters to know that if Nani can do it, without all the advantages that they have, then they can choose what they like in life as well.
Because I mean, looking back at those career that career pathway that you kind of meandered over, most of those are actually traditionally, we're of reasonably similar vintage, where those were male dominated areas.
Yes.
And there you were, being a woman and succeeding. Fabulous. Yes. Fabulous. So great. You're leaving your legacy. You're leaving something for your mother to read and hold really dear and precious. And that, my heart's singing. It really is melting at this moment, because that's so precious, so precious. Ask you though, that was your first published book.
Yes.
I know you were an avid reader as a child, but did you write as well?
No.
Oh, because a number of the people,
mature-aged lady when I first wrote my book.
A number of people that I talked to have gone, oh, well, I wrote poetry as a kid.
No.
No. So you went straight to it as an adult, as a mature adult. Got it. Okay. So that's what prompted you to write your first book. And as you said, it's your first solo book. You've written a number of anthologies you've been part of. You've ghost written. You've got a new solo book out. And that came out very recently, didn't it?
Very recently. Right at the very beginning of May, this little baby was born.
Congratulations, Mama.
Thank you.
And golly, there's a tale behind that, isn't there? Just as you had a major intention, a major why behind My Time to Shine, tell our audience about the intention and the reasoning behind happiness.
It's a bit of a sad tale, very dear to my heart. 30 years ago, my brother made a decision, and that decision was to take his own life. He was so unhappy. So this book has been brewing for 30 years, even though I didn't write until 2018. This book has been brewing, and it's been sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. And so often when I was coaching, I would hear, I'll be happy when. Stop waiting, wanting, wishing, hoping. We've got happiness inside us, and we've got a choice every single day to choose it.
Oh, that is a very strong intention, isn't it? Very good reason why. And from what the conversations we've had so far, you've told me that it's a bit of a dip in and out.
Yeah, it's not a you've got to pick it up and read it from front cover to back cover. You must read the first chapter, because that explains why and the how. And I've done it with the letters of happiness. So under each letter, I've done 10, 11 strategies. So you might pick it up and you go, P, positive minds, pleasure, play, planning, perfectionism, drop it. So I've had a little bit of a play on things. And even under N, I've put knowledge, but K's in brackets. It's my little
That's beautiful, because you got the lovely love of language and being able to take the piss out of English, because my hat goes off to anybody who learns it as a second language.
Oh, it would be tough. You know, we can spell 5 words the same way and they'll all have different meanings. I know. But yeah, so it is literally, you can pick it up, you can, like I said, must read the first page. Yes. The first chapter. And then you can pick it up and open it at any stage. You don't have to read it front to back if you want to. That's fine. But if you're one of those people who doesn't like to sit and read a full book, you can pick it up and read 1 strategies. Because of happiness, your choice to choose 100 plus ways. So through all those letters, there's over 100 strategies that you can use to find that happiness within.
Love it. Love it. I'm literally in the process of editing a episode that I recorded yesterday with a lady that I will connect you with, because her thing is spreader of happy. So That will be
we could be
sorry, audience.
collaborating.
Sorry, audience. This is a little bit of a network type situation here. But the point is, when you start talking to people about your work, then the person that you're speaking to goes, oh, did you know so and so? And there could be an introduction to that. So audience, this is where it's really important. You've just seen this happening in real time, and believe me, this was not planned. Where when you're having a conversation and you're sharing about what you do, you're sharing about your work, suddenly the other person at the other end goes, I get it. I just want to introduce you to, and that's where you get further opportunities to talk about your book.
Absolutely.
Share your message. And get more book sales and get more connections.
And networking is just fabulous. Social media has its place and it can be beautiful in this sort of arena. A colleague, a peer, posted up something the other day, and she's in coaching, and she'd put up, something about happiness is a choice. What do you think? Or do you agree? And I jumped on and went, absolutely agree, 100%. So much so I wrote the book and put a photo of my book on it. And she went, I didn't know you'd written that one. So there you go.
Handing it to you on a plate.
Oh, opened the door, I jumped through.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Okay, so we've worked out that the page was where you started and later in life. In your corporate work, did you ever have to do any speaking as such?
I did, in that I was right into learning and development. I loved PD. I was always the first to put my hand up. When I was working in the bank, I was even asked to run some training programs. So speaking in that sort of area. Okay. When I did my coaching, I would run workshops. So speaking to small groups.
Right.
I also had my own meetup group. So speaking to smaller groups. Sometimes that might be 40 people. I would be invited to speak at other meetup groups as well. So I've done that. Cool. I also did some speaker training early 2019 in Sydney. And I was immersed in that for 3 days. And
oh yes, I think I know
one of those homework things that you had to do was stand up on stage and present 3 times.
The same message?
Same message. So after you were given feedback,
right,
you can tweak it. And given some more feedback by your peers in the room as well as the trainers, and you could tweak it. And the 3rd time we were actually filmed.
Ooh, have you got access to that film?
I do somewhere.
Yeah, because those
it was similar message. It was around losing my brother, and that message was don't wait to live.
Right. Again, a very powerful message. Very powerful.
Yeah. And I tweaked that a little bit more in 2019 and stood on the stage here in Brisbane and did Ignite Brisbane with a couple of trainers that was well-known speakers. Yeah. So I have done some stage. I've been on probably 10 podcasts, generally in relation to my writing work or the compilation works. So the publishers have interviewed all the authors. But again, still sharing the message of the story that I'm writing. Yeah.
So what about, have you done any virtual summits and that sort of thing?
No, I haven't.
Is that something that interests you?
It would depend on the topic. I'm probably getting a little bit picky as I get older.
The point is you need to know who your audience is. And if it's going to serve them, then yes, it's worth your time invested in time. But there can be a bit of a tendency for us to go, oh, I've been invited. I'll go talk. Yeah. Which makes us feel good. The big pat on the back for us. But actually, is it a good use of time? Because if it's not going to serve our target audience, then it's a big ego boost, but whoopee-doo.
Yeah, I'm very selective with my time.
Good for you. So I'm very honoured that you're here today. Excellent. Okay. So we've got some page. So actually your stage bit came kind of before.
No, around about the same time. I wrote my first book in 2018.
That's right. Yes. And you said you were doing.
And I started my meetup, I think it was early 2018.
Okay.
And then when the world imploded, we went online for 12 months and it just wasn't the same. So I passed that over. Somebody else said, I'll take it on. And I went, it's yours. And I've really only just got back, I guess, into the networking probably this year.
Sure.
I just went, no, it's just time to chill and let things ride. So that will probably build up again. If I put my hand up and go, hey, I'm here.
I'll do that. Yes. Selectively.
Selective.
You were saying about doing 3 talks, one after the other. I want to pick up on that point for a minute. This is something that I talk to all speakers, particularly those who are about to do a presentation. It may be something that they're getting a little nervous about. It might be a high stakes one. I always give this tale when talking to the TEDx speakers, because I'm sure you're aware I've been the head of coach at UWA for 5 years. You will do 3 talks on the day. So it's interesting that they got you to do it 3 times. There's the talk on the way there, where you rehearsed it and rehearsed it and rehearsed it. There's the talk that you do from stage or in front of the camera. And there's the talk you do on the way home, where you critique yourself. Well, you missed a way, you forgot to walk at that direction, and you got to put that gesture in there, and the 3 talks day. So it's very interesting that you had a 3 talks day from a different perspective. Yes.
Yeah. But one of the things that I learnt from that immersive weekend was the 3 Ps. Prepare, plan, practice. Should be about 6 Ps. Practice. Exactly.
Because the thing is, practice makes permanent. I mean, one of the rules of thumb that we have is that it takes 1 hour of rehearsal for 1 minute of presentation. So if you think about those TEDx speakers who are on stage for anywhere between 15 to 18 minutes, how much time, how much work has it gone into it?
Absolutely.
To look that polished?
It was similar to Ignite. Ignite was a 5-minute. And again, prepare what you're going to talk about, plan how you're going to walk on stage, how you're going to present yourself. You're going to stand there like this, or whatever the case may be, but practice.
Yes.
To get up on stage, we were allowed no words on a prompter, but I think it was 5 images. Yeah. We had 5 images, but we still had to know.
Yes.
We had to practice what was actually going to come out of our mouth in relation to those images.
I've been on watching a presentation this morning where their slide was so wordy and it was read verbatim, and I'm going, oh no. And this person is actually advertising and calling for speakers for a summit.
Oh gosh.
So
by PowerPoint?
There will be offered some feedback if she would like to take it. I'm not going to say what unless she wants it, because my point is that when you have slides, audience, don't worry about it, because if this conversation is going to make you go, oh no, I can't do that, put that to one side.
Yeah.
The main thing to think about is, if you are shy, if you're reluctant to get on stage because you're feeling as though you're an introvert, if you can have a one-on-one conversation with somebody about your work, as we've just been talking about this, having that chat, then you can get on a podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
I was talking to somebody this morning, and she said that she actually went to her gynecologist for an appointment, and you know how they chat and say, oh, so what's going to do? Oh, I've just dropped a book. Have you? Oh, I've got a book club. have you got any I need 4 copies. Have you got any with you? She sold 4 copies of her book on the back of a gynae appointment.
Yeah, my dentist. Have you written a new book yet? Have you written a new book?
There you go.
You have to be able to speak, because you never know who's in the room, who knows somebody, who knows somebody, who knows somebody.
Yeah.
And it becomes a domino effect.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Oh, so good. So good. So we know that you started life, your writing life and your speaking life roughly around the same time, 2018-ish time. You've since been doing a lot of writing.
Yes.
And your happy place, isn't it?
It is. Writing is my happy place. Running is my second happy place.
Running?
Yeah. Slowly.
I did not know that. There you go.
I used to do half marathons until my body went, yeah, that's a bit much. So now if I can push out 5 or 6 Ks, I'm really happy.
When you're running, do you think about
all the time?
Yeah.
All the time. I did a run this morning, and I mentioned to you the other day, I've just put my hand up to go into another compilation book called Soulmates.
Mm-hmm.
And I've already written half of it. I just sat here the other day and went, here I go. But as I was running this morning, I was like, okay, so how do I then connect that to that, to that, to so yeah. That's where I have my thinking timer.
Yes.
If I'm running.
Well, that's it, because I mean, I know a number of people who do that. I'm more of a walker than a runner. I confess, running and I have never got on. I used to sprint as a child.
Yeah.
But put any distance in there, and no, forget it. I'm built for speed, not for stamina, somebody once said. Yeah, I'll take that as a compliment, whether it was meant as such or not. But so when I go out for a walk, that's when I'm open to cogitation and thinking about things, and how, as you say, how you join the dots and how you put this, that and the other together. So yeah, love it. So that's your happy place. That's your writing. Your words have power. Is where
absolutely.
Where you really sit in your genius zone. You've got this anthology coming up. So is there another solo book percolating as well?
Not in the near future. Okay. I have been doing some work with our local RSL club too, and I helped them compile a book called Saluting Their Servers. May I show it?
Could you explain what RSL is for our non-Aussies, please?
Sorry. RSL is Return Services League.
Thank you.
Here it is. There
we go.
I'm an ex-service person. My husband's ex-service. So we are members of our local branch. And I was approached last year as part of my ghostwriting to come in and help them put that book together. So that's the local history of the area where I'm living now. Okay. It was a huge military area in World War II from about 1942 to 1945. The Americans came in, the British came in, the Australians were here, and it was a bit of a training ground and a launching pad for forces going over to New Guinea, Singapore, Malaysia, and then when they came back, this was their debrief place. So it was a bit of a staging ground. So
so there's a lot of
military history, but that was a great book to be a part of as well. Again, my happy place.
And you're getting to connect with people, because
all the time.
when you do your ghostwriting, I mean, not everybody understands the concept of ghostwriting. Can you share a bit about what's involved with ghostwriting?
For sure. I believe everybody has at least one story to tell and to share. And if that one story can influence, impact one other person, that validates everything. A lot of people want to write a book. Like I wanted to write a book from when I was little. I didn't manage it until much, much later in life. But if you've got a story to tell and you've got a list of excuses, like I did, as to why you can't, won't, shouldn't, couldn't, all of the excuses. And one of the big one is time.
Mhm.
You can engage with a ghostwriter. You share your story with the ghostwriter. The ghostwriter writes that story. And at the end of it, you have a manuscript that you can go and publish. You can go and have it done up as a book.
Ghostwriter doesn't, or you as a ghostwriter don't actually publish it.
I don't offer publishing packages. Some ghostwriters do. I like to write the manuscript.
Yep.
Having done the books that I have a lot of connections with publishers, and that's their forte.
Yes.
Let them do that, and because they do it very, very well.
And it is a skill set in and of itself, isn't it?
After self-publishing 2 books, yes, it is.
Yeah.
There's only 6 years between them, and there's so much changed in that time. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't do a publishing package. But if you don't want to go the traditional publishing route through a publisher, you can self-publish yourself. You can format the book into a particular way, and you can take it down to Officeworks and have it made into a book if it's just for the family, if it's just a legacy for the family, so that the family history is not lost. You can do that at Officeworks. You can self-publish.
For those of you who are not in Australia, somewhere like Staples, if you're in the US.
There you go.
And
what
an
about
office, an office place where they will print off, you hand them a USB and they will print it off and bind it for you. Yeah.
Sure. The military one, we actually took it to a printer. We asked him what dimensions he needed the formatting in. He gave us the dimensions for the book, and one of our guys had that expertise, so he formatted it to fit that. You can publish on Amazon yourself, self-publish, and it doesn't cost you anything. Yeah. They do have guides about how you can do it. So you can have your book up on Kindle, you can have it on Amazon, and then you can, once it's on Amazon, it's basically global.
Yes.
You can do that yourself. Yeah. You may want to go to a publisher, an indie publisher, and they will help you format it. They'll help you get it edited. They'll have it proofread, and they will actually do the uploading of the document onto the platform so that you have a book at the end of it. So I leave that up to my clients.
Sure. Your point
about lots of referrals if they want it.
Yeah. Your point about the proofreading, I think, is really essential. If you've written it yourself, I mean, the ghostwriter, you've got a separate pair of eyes on it anyway. But if you've written it yourself, if you read it, you read what you think you've said.
Yep.
Which sometimes actually what is there.
With this one, I use the same editor that I used for my first book. And I'd read it, and I'd read it, and I'd read it, and I'd read it. And it still came back with edits.
Because I've ended up proofreading a couple of books for people. And one of them was from, he was a mentor of mine a few years ago, who's Brazilian. And so his style of English is a little interesting. And I had to resist the urge to go, it's not really how you phrase it, mate. It had to maintain his voice.
Yes.
And yet still be reasonably grammatically correct.
Yes.
So yeah, there's that as well. Oof, yeah.
And that's another thing. If you do engage a ghostwriter who offers publishing packages, and that includes an editor, you must let them know whether it's English, American English, Australian English.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to be mindful of.
Yes, because I kind of had a little contretemps with the editor of one of the books that I've been in, because the majority of the people there were from the US. So they were using, I mean, I could handle the US spelling, but there were a couple of things that just didn't make sense. Like my title as a speech pathologist, they wanted to take out the capitals. I'm going, no, it's a proper noun. And I actually put that in the editing. It's a proper noun. It requires a capital letter.
I had similar. I was in a book last year that was released last year called Get Published. And I wrote about ghostwriting in that book. That was predominantly Americans, but there are Australians and there were also Canadians.
Okay.
And the editor was American, and she'd come back and she'd go, "This is all wrong." And I'd go, "No, it's not." But I had to explain why so that she would understand, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. No, my dear old grammar teacher, because I went to a grammar school, my dear old grammar teacher would have just been turning in his grave if I'd let some of those things slip. Oh,
yeah.
but yes,
I do beta reading as well. So that is sort of, I'm not a trained editor, but having written and being edited on picking up a lot of traits. So I will also do a deep dive beta read, which is a bit more than, it flows well, it sounds good, it reads well, it's a great story. I actually pull it apart as well and go, "You went off track here. We're first tense here, third tense there."
yes.
Just to get the consistency. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Now that again, so you're calling it beta reading. I call it proofreading. That yes, that's where I've been asked. And I've actually had put it this way: everything in our department, when I was working as a speech pathologist, got put through me first for red penning.
You don't let anything out of the office until you've seen it.
Well, exactly. But that wasn't.
I can relate to that.
That wasn't my doing. It was that my boss, who knew her English wasn't as acute as mine, just went, Wendy. So, I mean, our department were actually, we got stuff going up to the Scottish Parliament for examples of good practice. So they wanted to make sure that it was.
And it, if you want a quality book that people are going to be able to sit and read it,
yes,
without going, "Oh, cringeworthy."
Yes, yes. You don't want to put any obstacles in people's way, do you? No,
not at all.
Beautiful.
Not at all.
Okay, so we know that speaking and writing came in roughly the same time. That at the moment you've just got your happiness book out.
Yes.
You've got soulmates coming up.
Yes.
And you forgive me, I'm going to blurt out. You've just had a significant wedding anniversary.
I have.
Tell
Hence
us how
why
long.
the timing for soulmates was beautiful.
Yeah.
47 years married, 48 years knowing him.
Oh, 47 years married. Jinx. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So that, I mean, the happiness is also in on that. Forgive me, I hadn't twigged about the your brother as being the primary motivator behind that. So we've got that on the go. You said there's something else that's percolating, but it's not quite there yet. So that'll be coming later.
Possibly another book. I don't know yet. I'll get through. I had the happiness and the military history one coming out at around about the same time. Soulmates is rolling through, and who knows what comes at the end of the year.
And that's all on the side of your editing work anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so audience, I have to let you know at this point that the show notes are dynamic. So when we have, I will be popping in the show notes the link for the happiness book. We'll also send you the link for Terri's KDP, her author page on Amazon. So you can check out all the other books that she's involved in, her solo book and her anthologies. The other thing to say is that when I have an author who's dropped something new after we've done a recording, I get them to let me know and we change the show notes so that the updated information is there as well. And I'll put out a social going, the podcast we had with Terri, wasn't she fantastic? Well, she's got another book out. Here's the link. So that's how it works for this podcast. So
wonderful.
What I'm going to ask you now is, when you've done your stage bit, and I know you from what you've been saying, you prefer the physical stage to the virtual stage.
I do. I get energy from the audience.
Yes. Yeah. It's not quite the same, although it's a different skill set, complementary, but different being in front of a camera. But my question is, in either respect, how do you take your words from the page, embody them, and speak them out when you're on stage?
Going back to those 3 Ps, to plan and prepare and practice. And when you practice, it's like it's second nature.
Yeah.
You're telling your story. You're not talking at people, you're talking with people.
Mm. Yeah. So important.
It is. And let the audience be a part of the story. And to prepare for me
Well,
to
what do
go.
you mean by letting the audience be prepared, part of the story? Tell us a bit more what you mean by that.
I also like to be, particularly when I was in meetups, I would love to throw out a question. Has this ever happened to you? Do you think about this? What's been your experience? But you've got to be very careful with that too, that people aren't just going to, oh no, that's never happened.
And you don't want hecklers either.
Sorry?
You don't want hecklers either.
No. So you have to, I guess, know your audience before you sort of throw out the questions.
Mm.
You know where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But to prepare for that, other than the 3 Ps, I like to, first of all, breathe. Do a fair bit of deep breathing.
Yep.
Use my nervousness to get excited.
Mm-hmm.
Find a quiet place where I can just not necessarily meditate, just chill.
Yeah.
And breathe.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty important to breathe.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I like to visualize myself out on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
I like to visualize the responses that I'm expecting.
Yeah.
That I'm hoping that are going to come my way.
Mm.
Be the very best that I can be in that moment.
Mm.
And be real.
Mm.
Because people can tell. They can pick it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And don't forget to breathe.
That's pretty important, really, isn't it? The breathing.
It is. It is.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know whether you're aware of this, but if you can slow your breathing down to less than 12 breaths a minute, you actually can't access your adrenaline pathway. You flip into the parasympathetic system and you don't get that nerves.
Yeah.
So the conscious slowing down of your breathing, and I get people to literally physically ground. So under the big toe, under the little toe, in the middle of the heel, feet flat on the ground on both sides. Even if you're sitting down.
Yes. Feet on the ground.
Feet on the ground.
Yeah.
And then you've then got a good posture, particularly you're not going to be pushing forward and risking face planting or leaning back and risking going the other way.
Swaying. I didn't know the scientific reason behind it.
Yeah. It's cool though,
but
isn't
for
it?
me, if I can slow that breathing down,
yes,
and turn the nervousness to excitement and happiness.
And happy, exactly. How beautiful that we brought it full circle.
Full circle.
To happiness. Beautiful. As we're winding up then, is there anything we've missed off, Terri?
I don't think so. Not really. I've just really enjoyed the time. Thank you very much again. I do really appreciate it. And I would love everybody to grab a copy of Happiness.
Yes.
And just try those strategies, 1 at a time, 2 at a time, and then build the habits. Build the habits. And then you'll come to a point where you can go, okay, I want to be happy now and I'm choosing it. And this is what I'm going to do to get it.
Yeah.
Because I think the more happiness that we have in the world, the better place it will be.
Absolutely. And I bet you what, audience, if you go grab that book, you find a couple of those strategies that work for you, do let Terri know.
Absolutely. I would love that. I would love that. Yes.
That would be fabulous. Thank you. Oh, Terri, thank you so much for sharing your From Page to Stage. For now, bye from us.